Hey, what's up guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the UBSOUND Dreamer headphones. These are on-ear headphones that I was sent by Clara from UBSOUND. So I'd like to thank her for actually sending these out after previously reviewing the Fighter earphones. I was very much intrigued to see how their headphones would compare. So you can find them for about £80 on Amazon.co.uk and around $100 on Amazon USA. As I am in the UK, I'll be reviewing it at the £80 price tag. So first of all, the packaging. Now it's something very simple to mention, but I just want to mention this on the packaging. UBSOUND have actually included a graph over here, a frequency response graph, which actually says that the acoustic signature is warm and slightly V-shaped, and I'll get onto that in just a second. So I just thought that was interesting because not many manufacturers actually do that. Within the package you've got the headphones, you've got a nice little carrying pouch which is very useful for taking on the go with a UBSOUND logo. You've got a very simple manual and a sticker. I did also get a pen included in the packaging, but I'm not sure if that wasn't included inside the packaging. It was included in the box that you open up and then find the packaging. So anyway, just a slight thing to notice. I would have preferred to have a quarter-inch jack or just something a little bit extra for the packaging, but at its given price tag, it's, I guess, decent. Moving on to its build quality. Now the build quality, it's first of all, it's terminated by a straight 3.5mm jack that is gold plated. I would have liked and preferred to see a right angle jack. I'm also a little bit worried about the strain relief because there is no real strain relief. The cable goes into this jack over here, and over time if you keep pulling via the wire, then it's going to become loose over here. There's something to bear in mind. The cable itself is good, it doesn't create any microphonics, and you've got a one-button remote which is also used for answering and hanging up calls. It works perfectly fine, and the one-button remote works on all sort of smartphones OSs, which is great. So you've got play, pause, and then if you double-click or triple-click, you've got previous and next. So you don't have volume control, but that's good. And obviously you've got the mic there in order to take calls. Now, the cable is terminated on the left side of the headphones, and well, let's just talk a bit about the build quality. Now, I am quite disappointed because considering they are made in Italy, it just doesn't feel like it's made in Italy. It feels like something that's made in China, if you ask me. First of all, the headband assembly. So the headband assembly, the adjustment is made out of full plastic, and I gotta say it's a little bit worrying and feels a little bit brittle when wanting to expand. So if you've got a big head, then it's gonna be kind of worrying. I feel that also the mechanism is just a little bit clunky, and on top of that doesn't have sort of indicators to tell you what side, how much you've extended this one and how much you've extended that one, so that you've got the same sort of distance. But anyway, that's a slight thing to note, but it's mainly the build quality which I'm looking at here, and I was just a little bit disappointed. As you can hear, it also clicks and it just doesn't sound that great. You've got the right side and left side indicator within the inside of the inside of the headphones, which is okay, but a little bit annoying when it comes to putting it on. On the side, you've got the UBSOUND logo, which is nice to see, and at the top, you've just got a clean slate. You've got nothing showing. Now, the headband itself is quite thin, as you can see over here, and there's very little padding at the top, which is a shame considering these are going to be used in terms of portable use. You'd want it to be just a little bit more padding at the top. But I've seen a lot of portable headphones have very little padding, and I don't quite understand the logic. I guess it's to save in terms of like the weight, but just a little bit more padding, guys, it would really help. Now, speaking about padding, and I'm going to go into the comfort section over here, is the actual pads on the drivers. These feel too thin, and as they're on ear, I was not very comfortable wearing these for a long period of time. They just feel too close to the ear, and they've got a very small hole over here, which means that in order to to wear them, you're going to feel a little bit uncomfortable unless you've got really small ears. So they're definitely going to be sitting on ear, and when you have them on ear, you want nice soft pads. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You can see that they're not very squishy at all. They're just quite hard and press. Obviously, it can break in if you wear them for God knows how long, but in comparison to other pads I've come across, I just wasn't impressed by these pads. They feel kind of cheap. And in terms of the looks, they look really kind of tacky. I just don't like that grey-ish look on them. It just doesn't look nice. To round off the build quality, I'd like to mention this the driver, how it sort of adjusts. It goes left, backwards and forwards, which is nice to see, which is great in terms of adjusting on your head. But I must say that in terms of the overall comfort and relating back to the drivers, you know, moving about and stuff, I felt the clamp was a bit too much on my head, especially when I was wearing glasses. I felt that it was just uncomfortable wearing them for over 30 minutes. So overall, the build quality wasn't impressive. It was actually quite disappointing considering they were sort of made in Italy sort of headphones. These really feel like OEM made in China headphones, and that's nothing to go against Chinese manufacturers, but generally what comes out of China in terms of the OEM factories, you know, this is kind of what you expect, a kind of glossy-esque shiny headphone, which, you know, doesn't really look all that great and doesn't feel that well built. In terms of the looks as well, I mean, it's something I just mentioned, the glossy finish, I don't like it. I feel it's too shiny. It doesn't really look that great. I guess it could appeal to a younger generation a bit more, but for me it just didn't cut it, and the colours used for the pads just make it look even worse. So I just wasn't impressed by the looks. The isolation, on the other hand, was good. Despite having really, you know, thin pads, they isolated quite well for on-ear headphones, which was surprising to me, but either way, you know, they're isolated above average in comparison to other on-ear headphones I've reviewed. Now let's go on to the sound quality. Now all of this can be kind of excused if the sound quality is really good, but unfortunately going based off that back to that graph is pretty much what I noticed. It's a warm sounding V-shaped headphone, and I like the fact they're not lying on here to say that. They're not trying to say it's a neutral or you know, flat sounding headphone, because it really isn't. It is a V-shaped sounding headphone, which is nice in terms of the overall, you know, the average Joe is going to pick it up. But I just, considering at their £80 price tag, I just don't feel they were good enough or worthy enough. Even the V-shaped sound signature, I've heard previous headphones excelling in certain parts, so sort of their lows and their highs, and not doing great in the mids, but this really didn't do great, or, you know, throughout the line. The lows were probably its strongest bet. It had a good mid-bass slam, but unfortunately their sub-bass wasn't really extended, and even the mid-bass didn't have that much control, that little extra control that you'd want at an £80 from £80 headphone. The mids, as you'd expect, were recessed, they were pushed back, they felt kind of overshadowed by the lows, and it was a shame to hear that. Even when EQ'd, it just didn't sound right. The highs also didn't really extend that well, they were rolled off, and they just missed that little bit of extra sparkle that you'd want from a headphone that's V-shaped. Now, V-shaped headphones are not exactly bad, even my Denon D2000s are kind of V-shaped to a certain extent, but when you hit that V, you want that sort of extension, that really nice sparkle on the high end, and unfortunately that wasn't the case with these. They had a little bit, but just missing that extra touch, giving that sort of a different sound. Now in terms of the Soundstage, again I was a little bit disappointed. It felt claustrophobic, it felt a little bit closed, quite narrow sounding headphones, and it's a shame because if the Soundstage was a little bit more open, I think it would have given more life to the highs, the lows, and even the mids, just to have that little extra life in order to reproduce those frequencies. So it's unfortunate the Soundstage was kind of closed, as it didn't really help the headphones in terms of how they sounded. So it's a shame in terms of that, because their so not say tonality, but their music separation, instrument separation was quite good. But just because they were closed, it just felt it was just being held back all the time. So overall, guys, I was kind of disappointed with these headphones. Their looks aren't great, they're not really made that well, you know, with this whole design. They don't even fold, you know, in terms of like a headphone. I would have liked to see them fold in terms of being portable, because they're not really portable. I can't shift these and put them in my bag or whatever like that. I don't consider headphones portable at all. I'm an in-ear person anyway, but when it comes to headphones that are supposed to be made to be taken on the go, I'd like them to be, you know, sort of folded or be able to do that. And unfortunately that's not the case, and, you know, well, the build quality pretty much sums it up. The sound wasn't that great either, and it was a shame, because at least if the sound was good, you know, the build quality and design can be kind of neglected a little bit, because, you know, it's a good sounding headphone, but that's not the case with these. They weren't that great sounding. So Overall, guys, I can't really see myself recommending them. Again, if you're interested, you can check them out on Amazon UK or USA. Feel free to check out links in the description below. And of course, check out my full written detailed review again on my website, which will be in a link in the description below. Again, as I said, I wouldn't recommend them because there's a lot of other headphones you can find that are more portable or sound better and even at a cheaper price. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, favorite and share for more honest reviews. Take care guys, Totally Dubbed out. Bye bye.